Angela Mele for us. And many of you in Cayman and BVI and throughout the Caribbean, you probably already know Angela. She's been with us before. I've known Angela for about 15 years now.
Yeah.
Can you believe it's been that long, Angela?
It's really funny because I was thinking that this morning. Yeah, a long time.
It's a long time. And I absolutely respect Angela's experience, her perspective, and her insights on AML matters and regulations. We actually come at it a little bit differently, just so you know, because again, not everybody comes at AML with the same experiences or background. And Angela and I are two examples of that. So, but I really respect how she kind of shares her experiences and kind of gets me to think. And I think I do the same, hopefully,
Definitely.
with you, Angela, as well. She's got experience in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands. She's had senior roles with SEMA. Is that right?
Was it senior? Not really, but it was a high administrative role. So that was a great learning experience.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Terrific.
And then you did hedge fund services, and now you are a consultant with RiskPass.
Yes.
And so, yeah, thank you for being here. You bring a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I really do appreciate you always sharing your time with us.
No stress. Thanks.
Yeah. So a little bit of housekeeping, and then we'll turn off our cameras so you can focus on the slides. This is not legal advice. We try and take it about an hour. Have a tendency to go over. Some of these slides, it could be like that in itself could be a whole day training session. So we try and kind of just give you that information and move on. You can use the question box to post any questions or even comments. And between Tom and I, he's in the background, he'll share any thoughts as well. The recording and slides will be made available and sent to all registrants as well. And we do have some upcoming AML Grey Matters topics, so do please continue to follow us on LinkedIn and ensure you're signing up for the topics as well. So I'm going to go ahead, Angela, and turn off my camera.
All right, I'll do the same thing.
Welcome. And just tell me as we go on. Now, when Angela proposed the topics about gatekeepers, I remember thinking to myself, what? That's kind of a weird topic until Angela and I have been spending almost a week really researching this and going back and forth. And suddenly I realized through all that, it's like, oh, wow, this is very, very relevant right now. And Angela, do you kind of want to give your perspective on why you thought that this was important?
I honestly can't remember why, but I think we were throwing around some ideas. And gatekeepers, I don't think had been touched upon, and they actually are tremendously relevant. And as you said, when we got together and started to talk about this, we realized that gatekeeper means different things to different companies, different peoples in different jurisdictions and in different industries. So we had to work to standardize the terminology for this training, which is one of the things that we will discuss at the get-go. All right. Now, I noticed this slide, why gatekeepers, why now? And we forgot the why not part of that. So if you go back and you look to the left of your slide, it says 2003, which is probably before some people on this call were born, okay? The FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, created recommendations in regards to lawyers, accountants, TCSPs, or trust and corporate service providers, trust companies, company managers falls into that, and real estate agents. The idea was to bring in a global standard for them. Okay, and as you will know, if you go back to that period and before, in a lot of jurisdictions and countries, those professions and businesses were not necessarily always regulated. They weren't necessarily standardized. And in 2003, brought together this idea that we will try and level the playing field and make things clear. All right. So keep in mind, when we talk about gatekeepers, we're predominantly looking at the FATF idea of lawyers, accountants, TCSPs, and real estate agents. All right. Now, fast forward to 2011. Okay. There was a paper released, and I believe the World Bank was one of the authors of this. They looked at 150 corruption cases, and of those, 128 used shell companies formed or run by professionals, right? So that in itself is a pretty interesting and high statistic. Mm-hmm. So now let's go back 2 years as well. In July of 2024, the FATF released what's referred to as the horizontal review. There's a long name to that. I brilliantly left that paper on my desk, and I'm training from home this morning. But that was also a very interesting document as well. We're going to reference that throughout this session. The first thing I did was I had to go and check and understand what horizontal review meant. And basically, in a nutshell, horizontal review looks at a whole series of perhaps jurisdictions, industries, across a number of like jurisdictions and industries and points at about the same time. So when this came out, which was 24 months ago, what this did was list a series of countries and jurisdictions and how they applied that 2003 FATF requirement or recommendation to have, for countries to have lawyers, accountants, TCSPs, and data real estate agents, okay, apply these recommendations. So Kim has she's put in a slide that will look at all of these countries, or the majority of them, and they are wildly skewed from 100% to 0%, all right? And you're going to be quite surprised with the findings. And then finally, last year and this year, the rules do keep moving. The US real estate rule vacated in court, and we're going to talk about that in the next slide. BVI was gray listed over trust and corporate service provider supervision. All right, so we're going to touch on those. So as with everything in our industry, this is a moving target. We're looking at it from this point of view today, July 15th, 2026.
Right. And just for everybody's purposes, in the chat box, I did put a little link to the FATF horizontal review report, so you can have access to that if you just go to the chat box, not the question box.
And the other thing, just before you move on really quickly, we have lumped lawyers, accountants, TCSPs, and real estate agents in one acronym, DNFBPs. Okay, that may be a more familiar term, and I'm using that because that is what these professions are referred to as DNFBPs in Cayman, also in Trinidad, and I believe other Caribbean jurisdictions. The jurisdiction you're in may not use that acronym.
Yeah, I think it is used in most jurisdictions from what I've seen. Now this slide is, we were kind of talking about how it's like, all right, so some people, they'll kind of rely on this, oh, it's a investment advisor in the US. It's great because they've got this new rule. Well, that got postponed now. So, so even though you hear, and I'll use the US Corporate Transparency Act as an example as well, suddenly it's like, all right, it's rolled out, and then it's put in courts, and then it's appealed, and then I'm in the US, I have a company in the US, I have never once had to fill out anything about beneficial ownership. And which is very different in the rest of the world, obviously. So the US is kind of one of those, again, areas where you'll hear about these rules and regulations getting rolled out by FinCEN or SEC or something like that, and then all of a sudden it's appealed and it's not relevant anymore. So that's where the ground is shifting. And then same thing too, of course, in the when the FATF does these mutual evaluation reviews, they sometimes will say, oh, this country is, it's recommendation 17, I believe. It's where, no, I'm sorry, it's supervision. Sorry, I can't remember the actual recommendation, but it's like somebody might get a little bit of a kind of, they didn't do so well whenever, they were assessed on their supervision of TCSPs or DNFBP, yeah, the designated, which is the lawyers and the trusted corporate service providers, those kind of things. So that is where these mutual evaluation reports, and apologies to BVI if we're not picking on you, because Cayman was in the same boat a few years ago. But it's just one of those things where you just kind of have to keep an eye on the jurisdictions that your gatekeepers are coming from. And this is the word that was, I mean, these are the terminologies that Angela and I, like when we started talking, I was using the word, refers and introducers, and she was referring to intermediaries. And we thought, okay, wait a second, we need to nail down what we each mean by that. So we kind of did our research. We were looking for, is there definitive, definitions used? So we agreed, gatekeeper, it's not a legal definition and it's not a license. It's just shorthand for those professions, those, the lawyers, notaries, accountants, TCSPs, real estate agents. But of course, most of those fall into the DNFBP category, which is a formal category used by the FATF and most regulators. And again, so it's those four gatekeepers, it's those gatekeepers plus like casinos and dealers and precious metals and stones. And then did you want to go into professional intermediaries and introducers?
Sure. Okay. So what I deem to be a professional intermediary is a regulated third party that may perform elements of CDD on your behalf, request that CDD from the client, and act as like a go-between in a sense. However, we all, at least in Cayman, and as a general good rule, the CDD really does rest with the company or the entity that is providing the service. Okay, so keep in mind that you, as the compliance officer, perhaps have a trust company or a company manager, really are responsible to ensure that the CDD that you accept or that you review is yours. You take ownership of that. Now, Kim and I also, and we'll be talking about this a little bit later as well, we also refer to eligible introducer assurance forms. Okay, that is a very Cayman term. There may be other jurisdictions that use that term. That is basically a letter signed by someone who is a professional intermediary, is licensed or regulated, okay, to say, yes, I have all the CDD you need, okay, and I will provide it when you ask for it. All right, so that's professional intermediary. Now, an introducer is more of a referral relationship that may bring you business. There may not even necessarily be a contractual relationship in place, all right? It could simply be a familial or friendship relationship or professional relationship in the sense that you have perhaps in the past worked with this individual or this company, and for whatever reason they are referring you business. But my approach is, should you have a piece of business introduced, I take it from there. Okay, my company takes it from there, and then we perform the CDD. All right, there may at times be referral fees. From my personal experience, not normally. So it's like a sliding scale in a sense. So keep that in mind. But the important thing from this slide is take a look where it says the responsibility stays with you, and that is the bottom left-hand corner.
Always. And this also, any CDD or kind of anything that the professional intermediary or referrer or introducer sends to you must still meet your jurisdiction's requirements, not theirs, especially if there's some cross-border transaction, cross-border element there. And as I really wanted to point out too, an introducer or what some might call a referrer, that person or firm could fall away from the relationship you have with your client versus the intermediary on the left-hand side. They could stay very much involved, and you may not even have contact with the underlying client. Most of your communications might be with the intermediary.
Yes, that is very true. And most are great and some are not.
Yeah.
So
So Yeah, so just bear that in mind as well. Now, the other thing is on this slide we were talking about, but what about the banks? Aren't they the
Mhm.
real gatekeepers? And now this slide can be a little bit confusing. We do admit, because I was also questioning about company registries. I do know, I have seen on LinkedIn, there was a guy, I can't remember his name now. He was really into just all the fraudulent companies that were getting set up by at the UK Companies House. Now, what do I do whenever I'm doing any kind of due diligence? I go to Companies House, Secretary of States in the US, pull those documents, and yet the UK Companies House was just getting people were just incorporating companies using false names, or they were from different countries. They were people were complaining, saying, I suddenly got all these documents in my mailbox from the UK Companies House, but I didn't register a company. They were
Mhm.
using addresses. So there is some stuff going on. There is it's called the ECCTA. So they're trying to clean it up a little bit. But I'm here in the States. I can register an LLC here in the US, in my state. I've incorporated a Delaware company, all without a lawyer. Just me going online, register it, and within a few days, I've got a certificate of incorporation. So
And just
remember
to that,
that. Yeah.
sorry, to that point as well, I know that we all rely on the Companies House or the Registrar of Companies or whatever it may be in the country where this entity is registered. We assume that this is legitimate, right? Once you get those certified documents, everything is good to go. So it's just something that not okay. Humans are not flawless. I have seen passports, I kid you not, that have been issued with the wrong place of birth in the wrong country. I have seen, I have seen police clearance certificates with incorrect information, wrong date of birth, right? So please check all documents. I know it's time consuming, but you want to make sure that what you have on file is correct and accurate.
Right.
So,
And I think when it comes to these corporate documents that we pull offline, that's why it's very important to get the KYC on every director and shareholder that is listed, um, that is named. And I will also say too, even things like driver's license, I live in a college town or near a college town. If 18-year-old kids can get very good fake driver's license online, which they can, um, again, just kind of make sure that those certifications are kind of worded correctly and stuff like that. Because if an 18-year-old kid who just wants to go to a bar, you can get one, is that motivated? You can imagine somebody who's trying to launder proceeds of corruption. Um, at the end of the day, again, I can go and incorporate companies, but it's when I get to a bank to open a bank account here in the US, that's when they want my social security number. I mean, it's about a 2 to 3 hour process now. Now I realize in other countries it might be weeks or months, but here in the US I do have to sit in front of somebody and show all my IDs and give them everything. And we have social security numbers, which everything's linked to our social security numbers, so they check through that as well, and credit checks. So the bank is the last um, kind of the last gate. I have to kind of gate 1 in the US, gate 2 in the US don't exist. The bank is our only gate here in the US. So
so
just
and
wanted
that's
really to point
interesting.
that out.
Now, just as an aside, Kim, you and I were discussing this the other day. Who would the bank's gatekeepers be
Who
in
would the
this instance?
bank's
Yeah, gatekeepers.
gatekeepers?
Right. Who are the banks relying on? Right. They'll
Well,
perform their own CDD, but what if a bank took an eligible introducer assurance form, which they don't?
they don't
Who
in
would
the US.
they don't?
And
Okay.
yeah,
I remember the
yeah.
days a long time ago in Cayman when they would, in which case the gatekeeper would be the company or the person, the professional signing that eligible introducer assurance form. I know those days are long gone.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. And I'll be honest, I don't see many eligible introducers forms anymore or assurance letters. I think those, because the responsibility or liability is still on the firm accepting it, they're just kind of, yeah, we'll just do our
Yeah.
own. So yeah.
And also because of FATCA and CRS for some financial institutions as well, they need more information. They cannot rely. So
Exactly. So
okay.
we wanted to kind of get a feel how you guys use these, you guys, the audience members, use these terminologies. So I've put together a little structure. So a client goes to a law firm advises the client on how the structure should be set up, whether it's a company or partnership, for instance. They may then go to instruct a trust and corporate service provider to set it up. The trust and company corporate service provider may then, for instance, go straight to the bank, or they may give it to the client. The client goes to the bank. And then from that bank account, invest in a fund. So, Tom, if you don't mind issuing the first poll, which is for exercise 1, Q1, I would love to hear what you think, the audience. Who is the original gatekeeper in this scenario? Okay, we won't stay here too long. Great. Angela, can you see poll results so far?
I can. Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. So we can go ahead and end that poll. I just kind of going through. So 64% of you say it is the law firm. Angela, would you agree with that?
I think, as we discussed the other day, it depends where you are in this chain.
Your jurisdiction, like what country you are in, correct?
And also what, if you're a bank and the trusted corporate service provider shows up to open up the bank account, that would be more along the lines perhaps of your initial gatekeeper. But if you look at it literally chronologically, I think it's the law firm. But law firms also or often own a TCSP.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So what do you think?
I think it's the law firm, because it starts with the law firm that they want to say, okay, yeah, we've got somebody. And I'm not saying that they're going to pass on their due diligence or KYC to the TCSP. The TCSP has to do their own, to their standards. But yeah, I think it definitely starts with the law firm. Now, the law firm might just have Joe Blows because he came to them, but then when the TCSP, when the law firm might go, oh, and you're going to need some independent directors, or you're going to need, 3 shareholders, whatever, then that's where the TCSP has to, up there, do even more. They can't. I don't think the TCSP should just rely on law firms unless they're part of a group. But that's where you want to kind of make sure that that law firm where they're located. Well, sorry, we'll go on a bit more, but because there's like 4 questions. So the second one is, who is the introducer, and they're introducing to whom? And I hope I set this up correctly. Yeah, so we've got the law firm is introducing to the trusted corporate service provider, the trusted corporate service provider. Let's say that they've got some kind of service agreement to where they go and open bank accounts. So they'll introduce it to the bank. Another option is there a bank? Is the bank introducing it to the fund? And of course, the other option is there is no introducer in this chain. So, all right. So we've got some. All right. So we could go ahead and just stop there. So 61% are saying the law firm introduces to the trust and corporate service provider. And then the trusted 24% said the trusted corporate service providers introducing it to the bank, 6% bank to the fund, and 8% are saying no. Angela, what was your thought?
My thought is they're all at some point introducers. I think that all of these, that's just a personal opinion. The law firm introduces the client to the TCSP. The TCSP in turn is introduced into the bank, and the bank, perhaps through an advisor, introduces the client to the fund. Now, think about it. You're the compliance officer in that fund or fund administrator.
Mm-hmm.
You're not so concerned about that law firm. That is a few, that's way down that rabbit hole. Okay?
Yeah.
And I would venture to guess, if you're in Cayman or you're a Cayman registered fund, or you're dealing with a Cayman registered fund and you're overseas as a fund administrator, you want full CDD, right? So that's how I view it. What do you think?
I thought law firm to TCSP,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the relationship that the service that the TCSP is providing to the client, yes, they could be a introducer to the bank. I did not think about bank to the fund though, but you made a very good point that if the bank is providing like if it's some kind of like investment advising
Right.
role, then they go, oh wait, there's this great fund over here you should invest in.
And that may be going through some sort of advisory company or an in-house advisor at the bank that has a securities license. So then it also might be an in-house fund at the bank, or it might be an exterior independent fund. So there are a lot of variations that come into play here.
Yeah,
Everyone's an introducer. Everyone's a gatekeeper.
Exactly. That's what our big line is. And then who is the next question is, who is the professional intermediary? Now, I won't say anything else. Just let you guys think about that one. And again, everybody could be coming at this from your own experiences and background. All right. Okay, this is an interesting result. Very interesting result. So we'll go ahead and, so 17, 16. So we've got 66%. See, where are we? 66% said it is the law firm and the TCSP.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your thought?
My
Angela?
thought?
Yeah.
Once again, I think depends where you are in this chain. As a general rule, I would say both. Okay. But once again, if you get to the fund space, you have that subscriber fill in all their subscription documents. So that I as a compliance officer of that fund administrator for that fund would not be looking to the law firm or the TCSP. I would want to see full CDD, in which case it's no one.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And that only got 2% of the votes.
But you have to stop and say, where am I in this chain? And what are my responsibilities?
Yeah.
So
Because to me, the professional intermediary, again, they're going to stay involved in the client relationship. So for the fund, it may be the bank, but I agree. The law firm is going to fall away. The TCSP is going to pretty much fall away, other than like annual returns, things like that. So there could be situations where maybe the bank, but very interesting thing there. So, but a lot of it, that was the least, but that was, I think you and I both agreed, probably no one. And then of course, the last question is, which parties are DNFBPs and this should be a multi-select, so you can choose several of them. And just making sure that we all understand the term DNFBPs. All right, so
say that 3 times fast.
Exactly.
It took me 3 years to remember that term.
Exactly. So I think we're doing pretty good here. Yeah, I think we're doing pretty good here. So your options, obviously, for those who are just listening in: law firm, TCSP, bank, or fund. And we'll go ahead and kind of close that one. But I think you guys are doing pretty good here. But I'm showing about 80% are saying the law firm. I agree. TCSP, 63% said it's a TCSP. 24% said it's a bank. Now, a bank is not a DNFBP. correct?
It's fully in Cayman. It's a fully licensed, regulated entity. So
Okay.
I've never seen it listed as a DNFBP. But law firms, accounting firms, real estate agents, TCSPs, those are classified as DNFBPs in Cayman, and as you said, in many jurisdictions. And that loops back to that recommendation from the FATF.
Okay. Yeah, and
Okay.
I would not deem the fund designated non-financial business, because that's what the DNFBP stands for, designated non-financial
Non-financial.
business or service
So
business
banks and funds are
services.
financial, right?
Yeah, they are financial. So
It's a
yeah, they
general
usually
rule.
get
Yeah.
regulated.
So
All right.
that said, do go back to your own legislation in your jurisdiction and take a look and get comfortable with that.
Mhm.
Do a crib sheet because we live in a world of acronyms.
We are. Exactly. And senior management hates that, by the way, because they've got accounting and HR acronyms to deal with. So yeah. So all right. Now we're going to go cross-border. This is exercise 2. So bear with us. Now you've got your client. Maybe it's a U.S.-based client, and they go to a U.S. law firm. That law firm says, "Yep, we're going to put together a good tax strategy and for you." And they call the onshore counsel, call offshore counsel. So there's your border, and offshore law firm TCSP. I threw in independent directors,
Mhm.
and then we have the bank and fund. So same questions. Tom, for exercise 2, who is the original gatekeeper in this scenario? Is it the U.S. law firm, the offshore law firm, the TCSP, independent directors, or bank? And again, they're kind of like the first point of the individuals are trying to get into that financial system. All right, great. So we've got so far about 60% are saying the U.S. law firm, 30% saying the offshore law firm, and then the others. All right, Angela, what was your call?
Okay. I look at this and I see the U.S. law firm more as an introducer. Because if I was the offshore law firm, I would still want CDD, want to know who this client is. And of course, there are legal requirements depending on the services provided by that offshore law firm and the TCSP to perform CDD. So unless you've got that offshore law firm providing confirmation, like an eligible introducer form, which you said has gone the way of the dodo bird, unless they're signing off on that thing, I would just view that U.S. law firm as an introducer. What do you
So
think?
the U.S. law firm is the introducer, not the original gatekeeper.
That is how I view it. Okay, because you have to look at what's papered and who's doing the CDD, who's relying on that CDD, who's collecting it. Are you, as a regulated entity offshore, such as a trust and corporate service provider, are you just going to take this onshore lawyer's word for it, or are you going to actually expect some documentation confirming that that offshore lawyer has or onshore lawyer has the requisite CDD, or are you just going to do it yourself? Right. So it depends. It depends on the situation, depends on the jurisdiction. I'm sorry to do this to everyone, but it's the truth. What do you think, Kim? Do you see it differently?
Well, I do
you
now.
You do now? Okay.
Well, only after our research. So I'm going to hold back my thoughts for now, and we'll go on to the next questions because this is going to continue, guys. All right, who are the introducers in this? Again, I don't want to take too much time, so we've got U.S. law firm, offshore law firm, TCSP, independent directors, and then there's also no one. All right. Okay, I think the audience, we're doing pretty good here, I think. Yep. So far about 75% are saying the U.S. law firm is an introducer. So they're introducing to the offshore law firm. Offshore law firm would be introducing to the TCSP, I would think. So, but people are saying about 17%. And again, it could be that I've kind of messed up how I set those poll questions. But But yeah, we can go ahead and close that one out. But I do agree that the U.S. law firm is an introducer of business to the offshore law firm. I do agree that the offshore law firm is a introducer of business to the TCSP. Very likely, the law firm and the TCSP could be introducers of business to the independent directors, and sometimes, again, those are all the same group, as you know, as we all know. I would not say no one is an introducer, but again, we're not. When I say introducer, we're not relying on any KYC. We're just saying, hey, yeah, we got business from this law firm or that law firm. Would you agree?
I would agree. I just think that once again, it depends where you fall on this chain. So yeah, it's and I also think, just as an aside, just to cause more confusion, it depends on what the product and service is. So I look at this very much with a fund min hat on, because at the very end of this, we have bank and fund. Okay, so I'm thinking, well, could a fund go back when they're doing their CDD and actually say, yes, the US law firm probably was the introducer because that is what's in the offering document or the PPM.
Good point. See, I would think if I was the fund, it would be who brought the business to me. I would not go all the way back to the U.S. law firm. I would only go back to the.
Come on.
Yeah. I mean, it was
you're right.
Yeah, who brought the business to me?
So who was the original introducer versus who was the introducer to your company or your fund? And those might be different as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So that's why it was kind of like it's the U.S. law firm to the offshore law firm to the TCSP, TSP introduced to the directors, something like that.
And maybe now people on this call realize why you and I spent so much quality time together this week. Who are you?
Exactly.
What do you do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. See, again, thinking we're both in different planes here with this one. And let me see one more. Who, if anyone, is a professional intermediary in this scenario? So, and again, sorry, I think there's a big storm going through. So if anyone is a professional intermediary, again, an intermediary to me is somebody who is going to kind of fall away or no, stay involved in the relationship. And
okay. Excuse me.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So I think all right, now this is a little bit interesting. So again, it could be that the results are very different because right now it's almost a split. You've got 22% are saying the U.S. law firm is a professional intermediary.
Okay.
34% are saying the offshore law firm is a professional intermediary. 31% is saying the TCSP, and 11% is saying no one yet.
All right.
And again, it could be that everybody's experiences are different.
Yes.
See, my experience would be it's no one. These will all fall away in due course, with maybe the exception of the independent directors. But of course, I didn't even put that on there because I could see that being.
So, yeah, not to sound like a broken record, but once again, I think it depends where you fall and who you're relying on. So I believe our initial definition of professional intermediary said that you as the compliance person or the company accepting CDD may rely on that professional intermediary for some documentation. So who's giving you the documentation? Where is it coming from? Right? So it's very possible that the TCSP may be relying on that offshore law firm, or they may be going directly to that onshore law firm who's providing that information, right?
Yeah, but again, it just also really highlights too that when auditors come in and they use a terminology. I mean, you and I have been in this industry for 20 years, and we still kind of like, wait, let's define what we're talking about here because of our different experiences. So you can see how this could be very, very difficult, especially for newbies in this profession, trying to wrap their heads around terminology and how it all works. So thank you again. I don't think there's any right or wrong answers. These were just our experiences, and I think this is a fantastic example of how everybody could have different terminologies. All right. So Angela, this is the meat
Yes,
of this.
because we haven't
Only
hit the
taken
meat
us
yet.
45. Yeah, it's 45 minutes. So we're going to talk fast from here on out.
Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
This is this horizontal document that we discussed earlier. If you have a chance to pull that up, please pull it up. And if nothing else, just take a look at the documents or the grids and these types of pages. Okay, this, Kim, you have pulled a partial, you've pulled partial information from what is a far more detailed grid, all right? But if you look at this, according to the FATF horizontal review of gatekeepers, when it comes to technical compliance, Portugal, Luxembourg, Malaysia, Singapore, the UK, they all do really, 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 really well when it comes
And
to
Iceland.
sorry, and where? Sorry,
And
and
Iceland.
Iceland. Sorry about that. Iceland. My apologies. Okay, they do tremendously well. Okay, they're in the 97 to 100 percentile range. So that is very interesting. So what that says to me is, if I'm getting someone, a lawyer out of Portugal or a trusting corporate service provider out of Luxembourg, contacting me, I should feel comfortable that, according to this horizontal review, those individuals or entities have followed the law in their jurisdictions and performed the appropriate CDD. So they're coming to my company in Cayman with what it should be a pretty full set of CDD docs. Mm-hmm. Now, let's go to the bottom, because that's always way more fun than the top, right? Mm-hmm. And these types of things. The United States, China, and Australia apparently don't legally have to do anything.
That's right.
And we get a lot of business from the United States. So there is a jurisdictional risk here. Now, Kim, the one thing I don't think you pointed out here, and I picked up, when I looked at this full, what do you call this, table, I guess,
Yes.
in the actual document, the one country that I could not find was India. And India has the largest population in the world. So you have India that's not even included in here. You have China, which has the second largest population in the world. And please forgive me if I don't nail this completely, but I believe it's 1.2 billion people. The United States has probably over 300 million people. So a large percentage of residents and citizens of a surprisingly small number of countries are not covered by this.
Okay.
So
I would say go to that report and see how everybody's doing.
Yes.
Whenever you are getting any kind of introduced or professional intermediary in between. Now, I did think this was interesting. 74% is the average FATF member score 20 plus years after the standards were set. Can you imagine being in school for 20 years and still only getting a C?
Was it the same course over and over again? That's not great.
That's not great. Now, just to explain to people, the reason why in the U.S., the Bars Association, they fight AML because we have that what's called the right to counsel. In the U.S., it's kind of one of our underlying rights, and so lawyers are like, nope, we should not have any duty to report and things like that, because of their obligation for these underlying rights. Now, I don't know what it's like in China and Australia and other places, but that's the reason why. But even like accountants, I was even explaining to Angela, whenever I opened up an investment retirement account a few years ago with a quote unquote regulated firm, they never once took my ID. I even was like, don't you need to, get my copy of my driver's license? He's like, no, why? I just thought that was just so funny to me. Just weird.
Yeah, that's concerning, actually,
Yeah,
even on a personal level for, stolen identity, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We are going to run out of time here, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. But again, a great slide just to kind of show you where those were those cornerstones, that were, things like the risk-based supervision and stuff like that. So if you're a regulator, if you're in a jurisdiction and you're DNFP, you're a law firm or a trust and corporate service provider, and you're starting to feel the pressure, this is the reason why, is that the regulators are under the pressure by the FATF to get supervision of DNFPPs kind of well documented and show their streak there. So that's the reason why. All right. Now, we won't go through all four. I won't go through that process. But now that you know about the U.S. scheduling, so getting such a low score, we're going to only just do one question, which is, with that U.S. law firm, would you still consider it the original gatekeeper? Or would you now, I love that number. Oh, Joe, it's dropping now. All right. So, yeah, okay. So we have about 70% saying it is now the U.S. law firm, and about 20% are saying it's still the U.S. law firm. And again, to me, that's the original gatekeeper. I would this is where I would disagree. I would say it's the offshore law firm, because now that I know that the U.S. law firms really are not effective gatekeepers, although they still fall under that gatekeeper terminology and DNFBP terminology, because they do not have that requirement to perform due diligence. I would not consider the U.S. law firm a gatekeeper. And if I was at an offshore law firm, I would be doing my full due diligence.
I tend to agree with that. I think, once again, it depends what information you get from that U.S. law firm. But as a general rule, we are offshore usually expected in almost every circumstance now to perform full CDD. And there are other extenuating reasons why: FATCA, CRS, ultimate beneficial ownership legislation. I don't want to say it's easier, but it may lead to less drama going forward. So, because your files are so important, right?
Yeah.
For every company, it's backbone of your company.
So basically, what we came to the conclusion, Angela and I, we're all gatekeepers.
We're all gatekeepers.
We're all gatekeepers.
We're all spying on one another. Yes.
Yes. It's not spying. It's just like, you're the gatekeeper to protecting your organization, your business, your firm, whatever industry you're in, whether it's a bank or TCSP. And Tom, you don't have to. We'll just bypass all those other ones. So I think consider yourself a gatekeeper, and just because the business is coming in from these intermediaries or from these referrers or introducers, just kind of do your best to do the what you can, and follow your policies and procedures and country's requirements. And so just gonna, was there anything on this slide that you wanted to go through? So again, I'm just kind of aware of the time here.
I do think that this is a really important slide, because it focuses on, say, an entity's obligations, which, if you look at your regs, legs, and guidance, you'll find all of that in there. And then also keeping in mind, inevitably, we will be go through an on-site inspection of some way, shape, or form with the regulator. So just keep in mind where focus may be placed now versus, say, a decade ago or even 5 years ago. What are your supervisors looking for? What are your regulators looking for? What are they focusing on? What is the general feeling? Okay. Globally weak spots, that is a really important issue to look at. So not only should we be looking at what's going on in our jurisdiction, we should also be looking on in regards to what's the CFATF doing? What's the FATF doing? What are other jurisdictions in our neighborhood experiencing?
Okay. All right. Now, this is if you're relying on a gatekeeper or introducer or intermediary for now we just said elements of CDD, and then most of the times I just see where somebody's like forwarding on copies of passports, address verifications, and like a form. That's kind of the most common thing that I see. And then they
Mhm.
rely on that, and then they do their own screening and their own uh, kind of further due diligence, whatever that may be. Looking to see if they're PEPs or not, and if they are, maybe doing enhanced due diligence. So again, so reliance on what has been sent to you is again, it's you still have to look at those certifications, make sure everything is good, is adequate. As you kind of said, doing your full on due diligence.
Mhm.
So it's not going, yep, I got everything and off we go. Because don't assume that they did full on due diligence or anything.
Or to your jurisdiction standards. And
Or
the other
to,
thing is you as the individual or company accepting this documentation need to get a level of comfort that you are happy with it. All right?
mhm,
It's
exactly.
legitimate because,
Yeah.
as you said, um, people falsify or create driver's licenses and photo identification for other reasons other than to launder money, but they are floating around out there.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
we also did say, like, if the underlying client is indeed a high risk, you do need to do it yourself. If there's any
Hmm.
suspicion, again, that's when you're like, I'm not going to rely on what they sent. Um, the other issue that we realized too is we were talking about risk assessing the intermediary or the introducer of business, anybody who's kind of sending on
Hmm.
KYC to you or as an eligible introducer. And I brought it to the point, it's like, well, wait a second. Um, does this mean we need, because I just did a complete country risk assessment methodology, but I was thinking in terms of the clients.
Right.
I wasn't
AML.
thinking, yeah, and
Hmm.
of course, in many cases, certain jurisdictions fall into the low risk side, but with the risk assessing the countries of a intermediary or a introducer of business or a gatekeeper, then the U.S. of course would not qualify. But I still would not want
Right.
to go put all my U.S. clients as being in a high risk jurisdiction, but just the introducer. So I was like, well, wait a second, you didn't have to have a different country risk assessment for your introducers. But I don't know if anybody's actually doing that. I've never seen anybody do that. Have you?
Not officially. I think we do it in our minds if you've been in
Mhm.
the industry long enough. So it's once again getting a level of comfort knowing that the documentation you've received is legitimate. It's certified properly. You're happy with it. Um, not all clients are created equally, and not all gatekeepers are created equally. Not all of them are as cooperative
Mhm.
as you would like them to be. So those are the types of things you need to take into consideration. Um, I'm loath to say that companies should be risk rating the gatekeepers in all instances.
Yeah, yeah,
However,
I agree.
it
I
might
agree.
be coming down the pipeline. So just think of this as I don't want to say warning, but just in advance, think about how you would approach that if it's ever required.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm
And
thinking
you
in
have
terms of those AML surveys and the AML annual reports that need to, because there's questions on
yeah.
these surveys
Hmm.
about, you know, um, and I have to look at the wording, whether do they say eligible introducers in Cayman or do they say introducers and just introducers? So we'll have to look into that a
And
little bit, but
it
um,
depends on it depends, yeah, on where that questionnaire is coming from, who's providing it, and we all know everyone hates doing those, but with a passion. It does make you stop and think. All right,
yeah.
are we doing this? Are we up to scratch? So keep that in mind. This is always a moving target, right? Compliance is just constantly evolving.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely. And of course, then you brought up the great thing about these platforms that
right.
and
Yeah.
I see the benefit of them,
Mm-hmm.
efficiency. Let's go back to that thing where you got a you got a UK law, offshore law firm, offshore TCSP, offshore fund, maybe all in the same jurisdiction. And here's the client having to jump through 4 or 5 different entities' AML requirements. So
Right.
these platforms provide, I think we even had a webinar just, was it last month or the month before, about being able to have these efficiencies for like, hey, if that TCSP gets all the KYC, can't they just send it over to the bank? And
Yeah.
the bank so that the client doesn't have to do that, because clients, we're trying to reduce client onboarding friction all the time. We're always talking about that in these webinars. But those platforms are not regulated.
Right. And that's something that I am seeing more and more when I'm out there, like looking at platforms for clients, or potential platforms for clients. Some of them are saying, yeah, we've got all the CDD and we can, provide that and you can rely on us. And my question is, can I really rely
And
on
who
you?
are you? Exactly.
Okay, and who are you? Exactly. So,
Yeah.
is this company, where is this company incorporated? Who's behind this company? I did a number of years ago receive a documentation it wasn't documentation, it was like an electronic eligible producer assurance form from this platform saying we have performed this CDD, and it was signed by someone, but it was signed by a director of the holding company of this platform, but that would not have met the requirements of a suitable certifier in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, because he's not regulated.
Right. So I couldn't accept it. So these are the types of little things that can catch us up. It's not to say that this platform doesn't have this documentation. It's just, can you rely on it? And you need to get comfortable with that as well. And you may, as a firm, eventually have one platform that you work with and you are happy with it, and you've got their sets of policies and procedures and you know the individuals, and that is great. I just don't know if we are there yet as an industry. So there's a few things to take in mind before you accept the carte blanche. Don't worry about it. We're this awesome platform and we have everything, so we've got you covered. Because look at it from the point of view of the regulator. The regulator may come in and say, you know what, this isn't up to our standards. And did you know that this company, the holding company, is incorporated in Venus? You go, oh, I didn't even know that, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you would have to do, you would have to get a level of comfort and perform CDD on that holding company, on that platform, etc.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to just quickly move on because we still have a few more slides. So if we do risk rate gatekeepers, not saying we have to,
but if
right?
you decide to,
if you decide to, or even if you just kind of want to do a quick assessment, we did put together a slide. First thing you want to look at, that jurisdiction, that table we saw, and again, the link to that FATF Horizon report is in the little chat box. Whether or not they're regulated, and look at the regulator source, not their websites.
Yes. Right, and make sure it's like registered and regulated in some jurisdictions are two different things.
Yes,
right?
We were talking about that. Registered and regulated is two different things.
Right.
And then of course what services they provided. Do a reputation adverse media. Do your screening on them, and then of course also keep a track. How much business are they sending our way, and has any of those clients caused us problems in the past? And of course, also look at incentives at independence, because yes, we all need partner referrals, and we all need money. It's like oxygen in the business world, but it does. You just have to bear that in mind. Is there a financial gain?
And the other thing, to get back to point 5, the other thing that many years ago, I had SEMA come in and they asked if I had this is a long time ago, 22 years ago, they asked if I had a log of eligible and judicial assurance forms, and those sent out and those received. And I remember thinking, yeah, I remember that a long time ago. And that was totally new to me. And I remember thinking, another log. And then I thought, no, actually, this is a really good idea, right? Yeah. So this is something that is something that we are expected to run now, but it really does serve its purpose. It was a really good idea. And from then on, I incorporated it with all my programs, with all my clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do the same in the silo system. It's like there is an introducer's report that you can run. It's like, okay, these are all the clients that were introduced, and it shows by who and when. And so that's very useful too, even nowadays with these AML surveys. But yeah, it's also good just to kind of see what kind of, they call it concentration, what percentage of your clients were kind of introduced. And I think too, probably have a bit more board oversight on introducers policies, who you will get, kind of, whether even if it's just some reliance there. All right, so red flags, when should you stop kind of relying on any kind of any information, or even just taking on clients from somebody? And of course, one CD, if you do test it, the CDD doesn't arrive. The other one is if you've got if your client portfolio is pretty skewed, you might want to, that's a little business risk in my mind. You don't want all your business coming from one, let's see one sector kind of thing, or one firm.
Yes, yeah, there is
Yeah,
a serious concentration risk there.
yeah, yeah. So that's more of just kind of, business risk there. All right, so we're gonna, sorry, top of the hour here. So after seeing today, what are you going to do tomorrow morning or Monday morning?
Don't panic now, okay?
Sorry, regulators, I'm giving you, those who are listening in, I'm giving you no ideas. Sorry, because but Angela, maybe you have some idea. What do the boards do? Members of the boards do?
Well, it's written right here, Kim.
Yeah.
You might, as perhaps annually, as part of your first board meeting of the year, might just want to touch on this. Who are our introducers? Do we have a log? Are we comfortable with them? How do we vet them? Okay, a mini policy that you might even eventually roll into your AML manual. Okay. Yeah. So I like that. Demand a report on current introducer concentration. And actually, that's very valid. Some companies may have only 1 or 2 introducers. You've had that relationship for years. You're comfortable with it. That is fantastic. But periodically, you really need to go back in and revisit, okay? You need to also perhaps add this into your business risk assessment. So that is, or enterprise-wide risk assessment. That's very good expansion on your enterprise-wide risk assessment, okay? And then if the CDD fails, the sanctions and the CDD responsibilities land on you as a licensed entity. So this is why we're all doing so much work now.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So,
yeah, and we did kind of joke a little bit. It's like, oh, people are going to hate us after this one because we're almost saying, oh, we don't really have any answers for you, but we're trying to give you as much as we can. So
we're trying to keep you ahead of the curve.
Yeah, just a little bit ahead of the curve. And again, I have no clue what the regulators would be doing, because I think the regulators are kind of already looking at this. From the questions I see in these surveys and these annual AML reports. I think I even noticed it in BVI. They made a change to their annual report on AML, and I think I saw that very question there. All right. So we have I see there's some questions. So while people if there are any questions or any last minutes, I thought too, we'd kind of, Angela, you've got some online training, RiskPass offers online training, and you also have some in-person training coming up. Is that correct?
Yes, if everyone wants to come down to the Cayman Islands, they can.
Yeah.
I will do in-person training. I don't have anything scheduled this year, but I do deliver it to firms and licensed entities.
Okay.
So,
all right. Fantastic. Silo licensees, I did update the country risk assessment methodology. So it's now available after the June plenary, FATF plenary. So it's the methodology report. So do ask for it. And if you don't have it already from us, just contact your account manager or the support team, and we can send it over to you. Don't email me because I get overwhelmed. No webinar in August. We do have 3 topics coming up. Tom was telling me we got September, October, November, I believe, on topics like MLRO supervision, AML and business strategy, and board and senior management reporting. And for those of you who have not been clued in, I have, in my spare time, started a new platform called AML Inner Circle, and it is very close to being launched. And I am going to be hosting a workshop using AI and compliance in September. Think of this as LinkedIn,
really interesting.
but it's a members only, and you have to work in the private industries. It's so that you can support each other. I know we get so many people saying, please don't stop these gray matters, because it's kind of helps people stay on top. And but because things are getting so pressured and there's so much going on, I thought, you know what, we need to have a platform so that the community can rely on each other and not just the Gray Matters webinars. So if you are interested, you can email me at kimberly.smith@amlinnercircle.com for that, if you're interested. So let's go to questions now. Tom, is anything standing out to you on the questions?
It has actually been a bit quiet on the questions this month.
It just means we confused everybody.
Have we just overwhelmed everyone? Is that what's happened?
Yes, I'm afraid so.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do. Most people are just asking for the slides, and yes, we will provide slides to you, and you will get those certificates. Well, I'm glad that I hope this did help provide people with some more information, get you to think, so you're not caught off guard during your next survey submission or any kind of inspection. That this can kind of help you start thinking in terms of logging and getting all this information put together, because it's definitely coming. All right. Well, listen, if there's
Kim,
sorry, go ahead.
Kim, just one really quick last point. I just, you and I have been doing this and known each other for 15 years, and I wanted to tell you that I think that what you're doing is really terrific. It's really great for the industry, and thank you, because I know how much work goes. Yeah, I know how much work goes on behind the scenes, and they may look easy, but there's a lot of prep. So I think it's terrific, and the numbers of those attending are really impressive.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I get a lot of people saying how much they really appreciate this. This is one reason why we keep it free. I know it's hard. I know it's confusing. So many of our audience, they're like the one compliance person, and they might even be something other than the compliance as well. And it is hard. So this has been a passion project for me. I was very lucky because when I got into AML, I worked for a very large law firm in the Caymans, had very bright lawyers around me. So and of course there was a whole team of compliance people, and we could bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah.
So then when I started Silo and started, serving these smaller firms and companies, I realized, they don't have that same. I was very lucky. They don't have the
infrastructure.
Same infrastructure of people I could talk to and brainstorm with, and so that's why I kind of created the Gray Matters webinar series. But then even that, it's still not enough. That's why I'm creating now the AML Inner Circle, so that people can ask each other questions, kind of thing. So again, very close, because it's a slow launch because I have to do it in my spare time, which I have none. So it is. So just bear with me. But again, it's very close to launch now. And thank you. We've got Channel Islands joining in. So so we've even reached across the pond a little bit. All right. Thank you again for everybody. Angela, thank you once again. You always get my mind thinking, and my lack of sleep is because of you.
Thank you.
Because even last night, I was like,
a pleasure.
I could do this, I could do that, kind of really get the point across. And thank you again to our audience. You guys are fantastic for joining in and participating. And I hope we'll see you in September, and enjoy your August holidays.
Yes. All right. Thanks, everyone.
And thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. All right. Bye.
Bye.